She thought he was just her arrogant neighbor until the night she heard him growl. If you love dark, forbidden billionaire romances with dangerously possessive AlphaKings, tap red heart and follow this story now, because things are about to get steamy, wild, and very, very dangerous. Fire. Arya shifted her duffel bag higher on her shoulder, muttering curses under her breath as she climbed the last creaking flight of stairs. The building smelled of mildew and regret, the kind of place people came when they had nowhere else to go. Her nowhere else had been yesterday. This is it, Arya, she whispered to herself, staring at the peeling green paint of her new apartment door. It wasn't much, barely more than a glorified box, but it was hers. Well, for now. If she could keep up with rent. She shoved the key into the rusty lock and pushed the door open. The space was small and cold, the single bulb flickering weakly overhead. A mattress lay rolled in the corner, a sink barely hanging to the wall. The window stuck halfway open, letting in the sounds of the bustling, unforgiving city. Her chest tightened. This wasn't where she pictured herself when she'd left home full of dreams and ambition. But life had a way of laughing at your plans. She dropped her bag on the mattress and leaned against the wall. At least it's better than the street. Then she heard it. A deep, guttural sound. Not quite a growl, not quite a groan. It came from somewhere above her, vibrating through the ceiling like a trapped storm. Arya froze, heart thudding. She tilted her head, straining to hear. Silence. She let out a shaky laugh. Get a grip, Arya. Old buildings make weird noises. But as night fell and the city lights glowed faintly through her half-broken window, the noises started again. This time, they were unmistakable, harsh, ragged breathing, followed by a low, primal snarl. Arya's pulse skyrocketed. It didn't sound like any dog or human she'd ever heard. The next morning, she woke up bleary-eyed and determined to mind her own business. Maybe her upstairs neighbor was just intense in his workouts. Or maybe he was watching terrifying horror movies at maximum volume. Either way, she couldn't afford trouble. She trudged to the tiny bathroom, splashed water on her face, and tried to make herself presentable for her shift at the diner. She tied her hair into a messy bun and threw on her cleanest uniform shirt. On her way out, she glanced up at the ceiling, half expecting to see claw marks bleeding through the plaster. Ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. When she returned that evening, exhausted and smelling like coffee and grease, the last thing she expected was him. He was standing in the narrow hallway outside her apartment, a tall, dark silhouette framed by the weak yellow light. Arya slowed, breath catching. Up close, he was unreal. Broad shoulders filling his perfectly tailored black shirt. Dark hair falling carelessly over his forehead. Eyes like molten gold, intense and unblinking. His presence wasn't just commanding, it was predatory. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. It felt like her body knew him, even though her mind screamed that she didn't. You must be the new tenant, he said, voice low and smooth, like velvet wrapped around danger. Arya swallowed hard. Yeah. I just moved in yesterday. He stepped closer, and she had to tilt her chin up to meet his gaze. He was at least a head taller than her, his frame radiating heat. The hallway felt suddenly smaller, like it was just the two of them and no air left to breathe. I'm Damien Blackthorne, he said, his lips curling into a half-smile that didn't reach his eyes. I live upstairs. Upstairs. Where the noises had come from. Arya forced herself to nod, clutching her keys like a weapon. Nice to meet you. His gaze swept over her, lingering on her collarbone, the hollow of her throat. It wasn't polite appraisal, it was hunger, sharp and consuming. Her skin prickled where his eyes traveled. You should be careful in this building, Damien murmured, leaning in just slightly. Not everyone here is safe. Her pulse jumped. Was that a threat? Thanks for the warning, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. As she tried to sidestep him, he shifted subtly, blocking her path. Their bodies almost touched. The faint scent of him, spiced wood, smoke, and something wild, wrapped around her like an invisible leash. Then it happened. His hand brushed her bare shoulder, a light touch, accidental, but not really. Arya gasped softly. Heat shot through her body, leaving her dizzy. Her knees weakened, and she hated herself for the way she leaned slightly toward him, craving more. Damien's jaw tightened. His nostrils flared, as if breathing her in was an act of torture. For a heartbeat, the world seemed to stop. Then he stepped back, face shuddered. "Stay safe, Arya," he said quietly, her name rolling off his tongue like a secret. And just like that, he was gone, disappearing up the stairs with silent, predatory grace. Arya stumbled into her apartment, shutting the door behind her and pressing her back against it. What the hell just happened? Her shoulder burned where he'd touched her, a phantom heat she couldn't shake. He wasn't just handsome. He was something else. Dangerous. And the way he'd looked at her, like she was both prey and possession, sent shivers through her that were equal parts fear and desire. "This is bad," she whispered to herself. So bad. That night, she lay awake, tossing and turning on her thin mattress. Every creak of the building set her on edge. Every shadow seemed to carry Damien's dark, magnetic energy. She closed her eyes, trying to sleep, but her mind betrayed her. She imagined what it would feel like to have him really touch her, to press that powerful body against hers. The thought alone made her flush hot all over. "Stop it, Arya," she hissed, burying her face in her pillow. Just after midnight, the sound came again. Only this time, it wasn't muffled. It was loud, violent, a guttural roar that shook the walls, vibrating through her bones. Arya shot upright, heart hammering. This wasn't a workout. This wasn't a movie. The sound was animalistic, primal. And it came from directly above her, from Damien Blackthorne's apartment. Her breath came in sharp, panicked gasps as the roars escalated, followed by the sound of something heavy crashing to the floor. Then silence. A silence, so deep it felt alive. Arya clutched her blanket, trembling. She wanted to run, to get out of this cursed building, but her legs wouldn't move. Above her, a single, low growl rumbled through the ceiling. So dark, so inhuman. It turned her blood to ice. Arya whispered to herself, voice breaking, "No man makes a sound like that." And in that terrifying moment, one truth became clear. Damien Blackthorne wasn't just her dangerously handsome neighbor. He wasn't fully human. He warned her to stay away. She didn't listen. Now, neither of them can stop what's coming. The night after the roar, Arya couldn't sleep. The walls of her shabby apartment seemed too thin, as if they were made of paper, allowing every sound from upstairs to slip through like a whisper meant to haunt her. But it wasn't whispers she heard. It was footsteps, heavy and purposeful. The low rumble of a man's voice. No, not just a voice, but a growl. Arya sat upright in bed, clutching the thin blanket to her chest, heart pounding. Her rational mind tried to tell her it was nothing, just the noisy city, maybe even a television left on too loud. But her instinct screamed otherwise. That sound, it was inhuman. Then, a sharp knock rattled her front door. 3 strikes, hard enough to make the doorframe tremble. Arya flinched. Who is it?" she called, her voice trembling. The door flew open before she could reach it. Damien Blackthorne stood there, filling the doorway like some dark god. His hair was slightly mussed, his chest bare except for a pair of black sweatpants slung low on his hips. But what struck her most weren't his sculpted abs or broad shoulders. It was his eyes. They glimmered faintly, like molten gold caught in the moonlight. "Did you hear anything just now?" he demanded, his tone clipped and harsh. Arya stammered, taking a step back. Yes, there was this sound like an animal, but louder." "Damien, what's going on?" "Stay out of it," he snapped, stepping inside before she could protest. The scent of him filled her tiny apartment, clean soap, smoky leather, and something wild beneath it. It made her dizzy. Every nerve in her body lit up like electricity as his gaze swept over her, lingering just a fraction too long on her bare legs peeking out from her oversized sleep shirt. Damien moved closer, and suddenly the air between them crackled with heat. Aria's breath caught when his hand brushed her shoulder, whether by accident or on purpose. She couldn't tell. His skin was warm, too warm, like he burned from the inside out. "Listen to me, Aria," Damien said, voice low, almost a growl. "You live here quietly. You don't listen to noises. You don't ask questions. And you never, ever come upstairs." Aria's spine stiffened. "You think you can just barge in here and—" "Yes," he cut her off, stepping closer until she had to tilt her head back to meet his gaze. His mouth was inches from hers, his breath hot on her lips. "Because you have no idea how dangerous this is. How dangerous I am." Her pulse fluttered wildly. Dangerous should have scared her, but instead, it thrilled her. Aria swallowed hard. "Then explain it to me. What was that sound last night? What are you hiding?" Damien's jaw tightened. For a second, he looked almost tortured. "I'm warning you, little human," he said, his voice rough. "You don't want to know." The way he said little human sent a shiver racing down her spine. It was both an insult and a dark caress, a reminder that there was something about him that was not entirely human. Aria tried to move past him toward the door, but Damien blocked her, one hand braced on the wall beside her head. His sheer size overwhelmed her senses. His muscles shifted as he moved, the veins in his forearms standing out starkly. Her breath hitched. She hated how much she wanted him, how her body betrayed her with heat pooling low in her belly. "Damien, please," she whispered, though she wasn't sure if she meant please stop or please don't stop. His eyes flickered gold again. For one wild second, he leaned down, their lips almost touching, his chest pressing against hers. Then he jerked back, as if burned. A guttural growl escaped his throat, more animal than man. "Stay away." The words were torn from him like they hurt to speak. Without another glance, he stormed out, leaving Aria trembling against the wall. The next morning, Aria woke determined to confront him again. No more running scared. If her neighbor was dangerous, she needed to know how dangerous. She marched upstairs and knocked on Damien's door. No answer. She knocked harder, her irritation boiling over. "Damien, I know you're in there." The door opened, so suddenly she almost fell forward. Damien stood there, shirtless again, but this time, she noticed something that stole the breath from her lungs. Claw marks. Deep, jagged scratches raked across his back, some still oozing blood. "Oh my God," Aria gasped. You're hurt. What happened?" Damien's expression went cold. "Nothing that concerns you. Nothing that, Damien. Those are claw marks. What kind of animal?" "Enough." His roar shook the walls. For the briefest moment, his teeth seemed sharper, his posture almost wolf-like. Then, just as quickly, he reined it in. Aria stumbled back, fear battling with desire. But even fear couldn't drown the insane urge to reach out and touch him, to trace those marks with her fingers, to soothe whatever pain lurked beneath his rough exterior. Damien caught her staring and growled, low and dangerous. "You shouldn't be here. And yet you keep letting me in." She shot back, breathless. His nostrils flared. She didn't know it, but her scent, her sweet, intoxicating human scent, was driving his wolf mad. Later that night, Aria tossed and turned in bed, dreaming of Damien. But these weren't normal dreams. They were vivid, too real. The feel of his lips on her neck, the scrape of his teeth against her skin, the sound of his voice whispering her name in the dark. When she woke, panting and flushed, she realized with a shock that her body had reacted as though it had truly happened. "God, what's happening to me?" she whispered, pressing a trembling hand to her chest. Meanwhile, upstairs, Damien sat alone in his darkened apartment, fists clenched. "She's mine," his wolf snarled inside his head. "She's our mate." "No," Damien snarled back, pacing the floor like a caged animal. "She's human. Forbidden. The council will destroy her if they find out." But every time he breathed in her scent, every time her wide, defiant eyes met his resolve fractured. He was an AlphaKing, leader of the city's hidden wolf clans. He was supposed to be in control. But around Arya, he felt like a man drowning in fire. 2 nights later, Arya's leaky faucet gave out completely. Reluctantly, she knocked on Damien's door to ask for help. He opened it, hair damp from a shower, wearing nothing but a pair of dark jeans. Water droplets slid down the planes of his chest, and Arya nearly forgot why she was there. "My faucet," she managed to say. It's broken." Damien's jaw clenched. "I'll fix it." Inside her apartment, the space felt even smaller with his towering frame filling it. He leaned over the sink, muscles flexing as he worked, while Arya tried very hard not to stare. When he finally turned, their bodies were inches apart. The tension between them was unbearable. "Arya," Damien said, her name rough on his tongue. "You need to understand something. If you stay close to me, you'll get hurt." Her lips parted. "Maybe I don't care." For one breathless moment, he leaned down, his mouth hovering a fraction above hers. Arya's heart thundered. She swore she could feel the heat of his lips, the faint brush of his breath. Then Damien wrenched himself back with a guttural growl, fists trembling. "I can't," he ground out. "Not with you." He stormed out, leaving her gasping, frustrated, and more confused than ever. Later that night, unable to sleep, Arya crept into the hallway. She froze when she saw Damien in the alley below, speaking with a tall, shadowy man. The stranger's voice drifted up through the cool night air. "If the council finds out about the girl," he said, low and dangerous, "they'll kill her." Arya's blood ran cold. The girl. They were talking about her. Her knees went weak as she stumbled back into her apartment, her mind spinning with fear and questions. Who, or what, was Damien? And why would anyone want her dead? She didn't have answers, but she knew one thing. Whatever secret Damien was hiding, she was now part of it. One accidental touch ignited a fire neither of them could control. Arya didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, the words she had overheard drifted back to her in a chilling whisper. "If the council finds out about the girl, they'll kill her." Her stomach twisted at the memory. The girl could only mean her, and Damien, the dangerously magnetic neighbor upstairs, was at the center of it all. She sat curled up on her old couch, knees hugged to her chest. The dim streetlights filtering through her cracked blinds painted long, eerie shadows across her apartment walls. Part of her screamed to pack up and run, to get as far away from Damien Blackthorne and his secrets as possible. But another part, the reckless, aching part that burned whenever he was near, refused to move. Despite his coldness, despite his warnings, Damien had saved her once already. And last night, when he'd stood so close she could feel his breath, Arya had seen something raw flicker in his eyes. Something almost vulnerable. Whatever danger surrounded him, she needed to understand it. Needed to understand him. The following evening, restless and unable to think clearly, Arya decided to take a walk. The city streets were damp from an earlier rainstorm, neon lights reflecting in broken puddles. She shoved her hands deep into her coat pockets, head bowed. She didn't notice the group of men until it was too late. "Hey there, pretty thing," a voice slurred behind her. Arya froze, her heartbeat spiking. 3 men emerged from the shadows, their eyes gleaming with malicious intent. The smell of alcohol clung to them like a second skin. I don't want any trouble," she said, trying to keep her voice steady as she backed away. The largest of the group smirked, blocking her path. "Then you shouldn't have been walking alone at night." Arya's pulse roared in her ears. She turned to run, but one of them grabbed her wrist, yanking her back. "Let go," she screamed, struggling. Her cry only seemed to excite them more. The leader's grin turned feral as he shoved her against a graffiti-covered wall. That's when the low, rumbling growl cut through the night. "Step away from her." The voice was deep and dangerous, vibrating with barely leashed violence. Arya's head snapped toward the sound, her breath catching. Damien stood at the mouth of the alley, shirt unbuttoned, eyes glowing faintly gold beneath the flickering streetlight. The men laughed. "Oh, look, the boyfriend's here to save the day." "You don't want to do this," Damien said, his tone deadly calm. Every step he took radiated menace, a predator closing in on his prey. The leader sneered. And what if we don't? The growl that tore from Damien's chest was not human. Before Arya could process it, he moved, a blur of impossible speed. He slammed the first attacker into the wall with bone-crunching force. The man crumpled to the ground, groaning. The second tried to swing at him, but Damien caught his wrist midair, twisting until the man screamed in agony. Run. Damien snarled, his voice layered with something guttural and primal. The third man didn't need to be told twice. He bolted, dragging his injured friend behind him. The leader, clutching his chest, scrambled to his feet and fled into the darkness. The monster within. Arya stood frozen, her body trembling. Damien turned toward her slowly, his chest heaving. For one horrifying moment, she saw him change. His pupils elongated into slits, sharp fangs glinting in the dim light. His hands, no, claws dripped with blood. Damien, she whispered, her voice cracking. He blinked, and just like that, the monstrous features vanished. Only the man remained, though his golden eyes still glimmered with wildness. Are you hurt? He asked roughly, striding toward her. Arya stumbled back, fear and desire warring inside her. What are you? Not here, Damien growled, scooping her into his arms despite her protest. You need to be somewhere safe. She should have fought him. Instead, she buried her face against his chest, overwhelmed by the heat of his body and the steady, powerful beat of his heart. Damien carried her into his apartment, kicking the door shut behind him. The air inside smelled of leather, cedar, and something darkly masculine. He set her gently on the edge of a plush couch. His jaw tightened when he saw the scrape on her cheek and the bruises forming on her wrist. Where's your first aid kit? She asked shakily, trying to regain some control. He ignored the question. Instead, he tore his shirt off, muscles rippling, and knelt beside her. Her breath caught. Damien, what are you? I'll take care of it, he said, voice low. He dipped a cloth in warm water and began cleaning the cut on her cheek with surprising tenderness. Every brush of his fingers sent shivers racing down her spine. His proximity, his intoxicating scent, it was too much. Their eyes met. Time seemed to slow, the space between them thick with unspoken desire. Damien, she breathed, though she didn't know what she meant to say. He leaned closer, his lips hovering dangerously near hers. His gaze dropped to her mouth, hunger blazing in his golden eyes. His self-control snapped. Damien's mouth descended, not on her lips, but on her neck. Arya gasped as his tongue traced the sensitive skin there, his teeth grazing just enough to make her tremble. Heat coiled low in her belly, her hands fisting in his hair. She tilted her head back, giving him more access without even realizing it. Damien, she moaned, her voice breaking. A deep, guttural sound rumbled from his chest. He kissed lower, his breath scorching her skin, until suddenly he jerked away, shoving himself to the far side of the room. No, his voice was hoarse, almost broken. This can't happen. Arya stared at him, dazed and flushed.
Why?
What are you so afraid of? He turned his back to her, muscles tense. You don't understand what I am. What being with me would mean for you. Then make me understand, she pleaded, tears welling in her eyes. Because all I know is that you keep saving me, you keep touching me, and then you run away like I'm poison. Damien's shoulders shook with barely restrained emotion. You are poison to me, he said finally, his voice cracking. Because you're human, Arya. And I am not. Before she could respond, a loud bang rattled the door. Damien's head snapped up, every line of his body going rigid. No, he snarled, racing to block the entrance. The door burst open, revealing 3 men and 1 woman, all radiating the same wild, predatory energy as Damien. Their eyes gleamed gold, and their presence filled the room like a storm. The tallest man stepped forward, his lip curling. You've gone too far this time, Damien, he said, voice low and dangerous. You revealed yourself to a human. Arya's breath caught. Human. The word confirmed every terrifying suspicion she'd had. The woman sneered, her gaze raking over Arya. The council will not forgive this. Damien positioned himself protectively in front of Arya, his chest bare and his fangs slightly bared. They'll have to go through me first. The tension was suffocating, the air thick with the promise of violence. Arya clutched the couch, her heart pounding so loudly she could barely hear Damien's next words. "Leave," Damien growled. "Now." The leader's eyes glinted with dark amusement. "Or what? You'll kill us too, Alpha?" At that, Arya's blood ran cold. "Alpha." The word echoed in her mind like a thunderclap. Damien wasn't just some dangerous man. He was something much more powerful, and the secret world he had tried to keep her out of was about to crash down around them both. Her mouth went dry. Her thoughts tangled into knots. Alpha. It didn't just sound like a title. It sounded like something primal, ancient, and terrifying. Damien didn't deny it. He stood tall, muscles flexing under his bare skin, golden eyes blazing as he faced the intruders. His very presence radiated dominance, like a wild storm barely held back by human form. Arya's breath caught. This wasn't just her mysterious neighbor anymore. This was a king of beasts. The leader of the pack took another step forward. His hair was dark and unkempt, his build nearly as imposing as Damien's. His lips peeled back in a mockery of a smile. "Look at you," the man sneered. "Our proud AlphaKing, reduced to protecting a fragile little human." His eyes slid to Arya with open contempt. "She smells weak. Breakable. Wrong." Arya flinched, her stomach twisting. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, but fear glued her tongue to the roof of her mouth. Damien's growl was low and dangerous. "Don't speak about her like that." The woman behind the leader stepped forward. Her long black hair shimmered like silk, but her golden eyes were hard as blades. "She saw you shift," she hissed. "She knows what we are. You broke the oldest law, Damien. The council will come for her, and when they do, they'll come for you too. Then let them try." Damien's voice was pure steel. Arya's head spun. Shift? What they are. It all clicked in one horrifying rush. The claw marks, the inhuman speed, the growls, the golden eyes. "Wolves," she whispered, her voice trembling. You're wolves." The room went silent. The woman smirked. "Not just wolves, little human. Werewolves. And our AlphaKing here has been playing house with you like yours pet." Arya's entire body went cold. It should have been impossible, the stuff of myths and movies. But the evidence was right in front of her, too undeniable to dismiss. "Enough," Damien roared. His power surged through the room like a shockwave. The other wolves stiffened, their bodies bowing instinctively to his dominance, even as anger burned in their eyes. "You will not touch her," Damien said, his voice deep and commanding. "She is under my protection." The leader snarled. "You don't get to rewrite the laws because you've lost control. A human can never be part of our world. You know this, Damien. If the council learns she's seen your wolf, they'll kill her before the next blood moon rises." Arya's heart stuttered painfully. The man wasn't lying. She could hear the certainty in his voice. "Kill her." She clutched the couch cushion so tightly her nails tore through the fabric. "Damien," she whispered. "What are they talking about? Is this true?" Damien didn't turn to face her. "Yes," he said finally, the word heavy with regret. "It's true." Arya's vision blurred with sudden tears. So he had been hiding something all along. And now, just being near him put her life in danger. The woman's lips curved into a cruel smile. "See, little human? You're nothing but a liability. A weakness. You don't belong here." Arya wanted to run, to scream, to wake up from this nightmare. But Damien's broad back blocked her path, his protective stance both infuriating and strangely comforting. The leader snarled, his patience clearly fraying. "You've defied us long enough, Damien. Step aside and let us deal with her before the council gets involved." Damien didn't move. His voice dropped to a deadly whisper. "If you try to touch her, you'll leave this room in pieces." The pack members exchanged wary glances. Even furious, They knew better than to challenge an AlphaKing outright. But fear didn't stop ambition. "You're letting your wolf drive you mad," the woman said coldly. "She's human. Forbidden. This isn't just about breaking rules. It's about losing control of the pack. If they see you this week, Damien, someone will come for your throne." "I am not weak," Damien growled, his fangs flashing. "Protecting her doesn't make me weak. It makes me stronger." Aria's chest tightened at his words. Part of her wanted to believe him. Part of her ached to run far away and never look back. "Stop." Aria's voice rang out, shaky but firm. The wolves turned toward her, their golden eyes gleaming with curiosity and disdain. "I don't understand what's happening," she said, forcing herself to stand despite her trembling knees. "But this is my life you're all talking about like it's some kind of game. If there's a danger to me, I deserve to hear it. From him." Damien finally turned, his expression a mix of fury and heartbreak. "Aria, please. You don't know what you're asking." "Then tell me," she whispered. "Tell me why I'm in danger. Tell me why I can't stay away from you even when every instinct tells me I should." Her voice broke on the last word. Tears burned her eyes, but she held his gaze, refusing to back down. Damien's throat worked, as if the words physically hurt to speak. "Because you're my mate, Aria. My fated mate." The room went deathly silent. Aria blinked, confused. "Mate? Like an animal?" "Not like," Damien said. "Exactly like. My wolf recognized you the moment we met. You are the one person destined for me. The one I can't ignore, no matter how hard I try." Her heart hammered in her chest. "Destined? Damien, that's insane. We barely know each other." "You think I want this?" His voice cracked with raw emotion. "I fought it. I tried to stay away. But every time you breathe, every time you look at me, my wolf," he broke off, trembling. "My wolf wants to claim you." The woman snarled. "This is exactly why humans are forbidden. They make us weak. They make kings forget their duties." Damien turned on her, his rage palpable. "She makes me stronger. You wouldn't understand." Aria stared at him, her mind spinning. The pieces finally fit, the obsession in his eyes, the way he saved her, the way he kept pulling back right when their passion ignited. "You're saying," she whispered, "that I'm yours?" Damien's gaze softened, almost reverent. "You've always been mine, Aria. Even before you knew it." Her knees went weak. She clutched the couch to keep from collapsing, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The truth was terrifying and intoxicating. As if drawn by an invisible force, Damien moved toward her. The pack growled in protest, but he silenced them with a single, commanding glance. "Aria," he murmured, reaching for her hand. His touch was warm, searing, his thumb brushing her pulse point. The connection was electric, like fire licking through her veins. Her body reacted instinctively, leaning into him even as her mind screamed that this was wrong. Dangerous. His golden eyes burned with desire. "You feel it too, don't you? The pull between us." Her voice faltered. She couldn't deny it. Every cell in her body screamed for him. Damien cupped her cheek, tilting her face up. For a heartbeat, the entire world narrowed to just the two of them, their ragged breaths, their pounding hearts, the kiss was wild, desperate. Aria moaned as he deepened it, his hands gripping her waist possessively. The taste of him was intoxicating, like smoke and sin, like something she could never get enough of. The pack snarled in outrage, but Damien didn't care. In that moment, he was only a man and she was only a woman, and the world could burn around them. Abruptly, Damien tore himself from her, chest heaving, eyes wild. "No," he rasped, backing away. "I can't. If I lose control, I could hurt you." Aria reached for him, her lips swollen, her body aching with need. "Damien, stay back." His growl shook the walls. He turned to the pack, his alpha power flaring so fiercely they all dropped to one knee, trembling. "Leave," he commanded, his voice a thunderclap of authority. "Or face my wrath." The leader hesitated, then bowed his head reluctantly. "This isn't over, Damien. The council will hear of this. The pack retreated, their footsteps fading into the night. Silence fell. Arya stood in the center of the room, her body still humming from Damien's kiss, her mind a chaotic storm. Damien turned to her slowly, his expression tortured. "I never wanted you to see this side of me," he said softly. "I wanted to protect you from it." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "You keep saying you're protecting me, Damien, but all I feel is trapped, confused, like my life isn't mine anymore." "It's mine," he said fiercely, stepping closer. "You are mine, Arya, my mate, my queen, and I will fight anyone who tries to take you from me." His words should have terrified her. Instead, they ignited something deep inside her, a dangerous, forbidden hope. "Then tell me everything," she whispered. "No more secrets. If I'm really yours, I deserve to know what that means." Damien's eyes burned with golden fire. "Tomorrow night," he vowed. "When the moon is full, I'll show you everything." Arya's breath caught, a mixture of fear and desire coiling in her belly. Whatever tomorrow brought, she knew one thing for certain. Her life would never be the same again. Another alpha wants her blood. But Damien isn't the only one obsessed with her. Arya felt it before she saw him. A prickle at the back of her neck, like unseen claws brushing over her skin. The narrow street was quiet, too quiet for this part of the city. Her hands tightened around the grocery bag she carried, the crumpled paper digging into her palms. Then she saw him. A tall figure leaned casually against the rusted gate at the end of the street. Moonlight struck his features, revealing eyes like molten silver and a smirk that made her stomach twist in warning. "Hello, little lamb," the man drawled, pushing off the gate with predatory grace. His voice was smooth, dangerous, and teasing all at once. "You smell even sweeter than Damien described." Arya froze.
"Damien?"
Fear bolted through her veins like ice water. "Who are you?" she demanded, trying to keep her voice steady. "And how do you know Damien?" The man tilted his head, his smirk widening. "Name's Kieran." "And Damien," his eyes glinted with something dark and amused. "Let's just say he and I have some unfinished business." He began to circle her like a wolf sizing up its prey. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but her feet wouldn't move. "Don't bother screaming," Kieran murmured. "Damien's not here to play hero tonight." The slam of a door echoed through the building as Damien stormed into Arya's apartment later that night. His shirt was half unbuttoned, his dark hair a wild mess, eyes glowing faintly gold. "What were you doing out there alone?" he snarled, grabbing her arms. "Answer me, Arya." Her voice shook. "I went to get food." "I didn't think." "You never think." His grip tightened, but then softened as if he realized he was scaring her. He inhaled sharply, fighting for control. "Did anyone follow you? Did anyone touch you?" Arya hesitated. She wanted to tell him about this strange man, but something in her gut told her Damien would explode if she did. "And no," she lied, shaking her head. But the guilt burned hot and heavy inside her. Damien's jaw clenched. "Good. Because if anyone tries to claim you, I'll rip their throat out with my teeth." The way he said it didn't sound like a metaphor. Arya shivered. "Damien, why? Why do you care so much? You barely know me." Damien's eyes softened, then hardened again. "You wouldn't understand. Just trust me, Arya. Stay close to me, and stay away from the shadows." The next evening, Kieran appeared again. Arya was on her way back from work when she felt that same cold prickle, and there he was, leaning against a lamppost like he'd been waiting for her all day. Well, my little lamb returns," Kieran purred. Damien's leash must be slipping. Arya spun, ready to bolt, but Kieran was suddenly in front of her, his speed inhuman. "Relax," he said smoothly. "I'm not here to hurt you, not yet." Her breath caught. "What do you want from me?" Kieran's smirk turned dark. "Damien doesn't tell you the truth, does he? About what you are, about what's coming." Her heart pounded. "What are you talking about?" "He hasn't explained the blood moon?" Kieran leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. "Poor little lamb. You're standing in the middle of a war and you don't even know the rules." Arya trembled, torn between fear and curiosity. Why should I believe you? Because unlike Damien, Kieran said softly, I don't hide what I am. I want you, your blood, your body, your power, and I'll never pretend otherwise. Before she could react, Damien's roar split the night. Get away from her. Damien's voice was guttural, inhuman, vibrating with raw rage. Kieran turned lazily, smirking like a cat caught with a mouse. There you are, brother. Just in time. Arya blinked. Brother? Damien's eyes flared gold. He's not my brother. He's a traitor. Kieran chuckled darkly. Semantics. The point is, you can't keep her forever, Damien. Humans break so easily. Damien lunged at him, but Kieran vanished into the shadows with supernatural speed, his laughter echoing through the night. Arya clutched Damien's arm. Damien, what's going on? Who is that man? Damien's chest heaved as he tried to calm himself. No one you need to worry about, he growled. But if he comes near you again, I'll tear him apart. Back in her apartment, Arya paced, frustration boiling over. You have to tell me the truth, Damien, she cried. Kieran said there's something I need to know about the blood moon. About me. I'm not just some girl to be protected like a child. Damien's hands clenched into fists. Arya, if you knew what I know, you'd hate me. You'd run from me. I'm already terrified, she whispered, tears in her eyes. But I'd rather face the truth than live in the dark. Damien stared at her, torn apart by his own desire and fear. Then he snapped. In 2 strides, he had her pinned against the wall, his body caging hers. You drive me insane, he growled, his breath hot against her lips. I should stay away from you. I promised myself I would. But every time you look at me, every time you breathe near me, Arya's breath hitched. Then don't stay away. Their lips crashed together in a raw, desperate kiss that stole her breath and set her veins on fire. Damien's hands roamed her body like he couldn't get close enough, his tongue tangling with hers in a feverish dance. The heat between them was molten, wild, dangerous. But just as the kiss deepened, Damien ripped himself away with a guttural snarl, staggering back like he'd been burned. No, he panted. No, no, no. This can't happen. You can't happen. Arya's chest heaved, her lips swollen, tears streaming down her face. Why? She demanded. Why push me away when you obviously... Because if I take you, Damien roared, I'll never let you go, and that will destroy you. Then he vanished into the night, leaving Arya shaking and broken. Hours later, Arya sat curled on her bed, trying to make sense of her whirlwind emotions. Her lips still tingled from Damien's kiss, her heart torn between anger and aching need. That was when the window shattered. Arya screamed as a dark figure leapt into the room. Kieran stood there, eyes gleaming silver in the moonlight, a wicked smile on his face. Poor little lamb, he purred. Did Damien hurt your feelings? Don't worry. I'll take much better care of you. Before she could fight back, Kieran grabbed her, yanking her against his chest. His scent was different from Damien's, sharper, more feral, suffocating. Let me go, she screamed, clawing at him. Kieran only laughed. Oh no, my sweet. You're coming with me. And when the blood moon rises, I'll claim you in front of Damien and his precious pack. And he'll have no choice but to watch. Arya thrashed wildly, but Kieran's grip was iron. Damien won't let you, she spat, desperate. Kieran leaned close, his breath hot against her ear. That's the fun part. By the time he finds you, it'll be too late. With a final mocking laugh, Kieran leapt through the window with her in his arms, disappearing into the night. Damien returned moments later, his heart pounding. Arya, he roared, tearing through the apartment. But there was no sign of her, only shattered glass and the faint trace of Kieran's scent. He fell to his knees, his wolf side clawing for dominance. The full moon's light spilled across the floor, cold and merciless. And somewhere in the distance, Kieran's voice echoed. When the blood moon rises, she will be mine. Damien's howl shook the city. He vowed no one would touch her. He meant it. Damien ran on pure instinct. The night air was sharp against his skin, but he barely felt it. All he smelled was her. Aria's scent, sweet and intoxicating, tangled with the sharp, metallic edge of Kieran's trail. His wolf roared inside him, fighting for dominance. Kieran had taken what was his mate. And that could only mean one thing, blood. Branches whipped past as Damien cut through the forest on the outskirts of the city. He barely registered the cracked concrete beneath his boots or the flickering street lamps. His vision tunneled, golden light glowing in his eyes. If he's hurt her, I'll rip his heart out with my bare hands, the wolf inside snarled. Damien didn't argue. He welcomed the savagery. Kieran's scent grew stronger, taunting him, pulling him forward like a lure. Somewhere ahead, Arya was terrified, possibly broken, possibly. Damien's chest squeezed so violently he almost stumbled. No. She was alive. She had to be. Arya struggled against the ropes binding her wrists. The room smelled of damp earth and blood, lit only by a single torch stuck in the wall. Her heart pounded, but she forced herself to breathe, to think. Kieran paced in front of her, silver eyes gleaming with cruel amusement. You fight well for a human, he said with a mocking tilt of his head. Almost makes me believe Damien's obsession with you isn't entirely foolish. Arya glared, spitting blood from her split lip. You think tying me up makes you powerful? You're pathetic. Kieran laughed, a low, dangerous sound. Oh, sweet lamb. You haven't even seen pathetic yet. He crouched in front of her, running a claw-tipped finger along her jaw. Arya's stomach twisted, but she refused to flinch. Do you know why Damien keeps you in the dark? Kieran whispered. Because he's terrified of you. Of what you really are. Her breath caught. What I am. Your blood, little lamb, Kieran purred. It's the key to everything. When the blood moon rises, every alpha will bow before you, or fight to possess you. And me, I always win my fights. Arya's pulse thundered in her ears. Could it be true? Was that why Damien had been so secretive, so conflicted? Before she could demand answers, the ground trembled beneath her feet. A savage, bone-deep roar split the night, shaking the very walls of the hideout. Kieran's smirk faltered. No, he hissed, spinning toward the door. He's here. The door exploded inward, splinters flying like shrapnel. Damien stood framed in the wreckage, shirtless and bleeding, his eyes glowing like molten gold. His fangs gleamed under the torchlight, his muscles coiled and trembling with barely contained fury. Get away from her. Each word was a guttural growl, barely human. Kieran bared his own fangs, grinning despite the danger. Ah, brother, you made good time. Pity it'll be your last run. With a blur of movement, they collided. The fight was feral. Claws slashed, fists struck with bone-crunching force, growls and snarls echoing off the stone walls. Damien fought like a man possessed, his wolf unleashed in full fury. Every strike was fueled by Arya's scent, her fear, her pain. Kieran was strong, too strong. They were evenly matched, two titans locked in a battle to the death. Arya screamed as Damien was thrown against the wall, dust raining down. Damien! Her cry gave him strength. With a guttural roar, Damien surged up, sinking his fangs deep into Kieran's shoulder. Blood sprayed, hot and metallic, filling the air. Kieran howled, thrashing, but Damien didn't relent. He slammed his rival to the ground, claws at his throat. You will never touch her again, Damien snarled, his voice echoing with ancient power. Or I'll make you wish you were dead. Kieran's smirk returned, blood staining his teeth. You think you've won? The blood moon is coming. You can't fight fate. With a final mocking laugh, he vanished into a swirl of shadows, leaving Damien clutching empty air. Damien turned to Arya, chest heaving, his body a map of fresh wounds and old scars. Her heart broke at the sight of him, savage and beautiful, her savior and her doom. He ripped the ropes from her wrists, his hands trembling as they touched her skin. Did he hurt you? He demanded, voice raw. Arya shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks.
No.
But Damien, you're bleeding everywhere. He gathered her into his arms like she weighed nothing. I don't care, he growled. You're safe now. That's all that matters. The world blurred around her as Damien carried her through the night, his strides impossibly fast. By the time she blinked away her tears, they were standing in his penthouse, a sprawling expanse of glass and steel high above the city. Damien set her down gently on the bed, his face carved from stone. You're never leaving my side again, he vowed. I don't care what it takes. No one will touch you. Ever. The possessiveness in his voice should have scared her. Instead, it sent a shiver of heat racing down her spine. As Damien stripped off his torn shirt, Arya gasped. His chest and arms were covered in deep gashes, blood trickling down his skin. You're hurt, she whispered, rushing to him. Oh God, you need stitches. I heal fast, he muttered, but his jaw clenched as pain rippled through him. Sit, Arya ordered, surprising them both with her firmness. You saved me. Now let me take care of you. Damien hesitated, then sank onto the edge of the bed, muscles taut. Arya fetched a bowl of warm water and a cloth, her hands shaking as she knelt before him. The moment she touched him, everything changed. His skin burned beneath her fingertips, the air between them thick with unspoken desire. Damien's breath hitched as she gently cleaned the blood from his chest. Arya, he groaned, voice rough. You don't understand what you're doing to me. Then tell me, she whispered, her lips dangerously close to his skin. He grabbed her wrist, holding it over his heart. I want you. I've always wanted you. But if I lose control, if the wolf takes over. His voice broke. I could hurt you. Her heart pounded. I'm not afraid of you, Damien. Their lips were inches apart, the world narrowing to heat and breath and desperate longing. When Damien finally kissed her, it was wildfire. Hungry, claiming, unstoppable. His hands tangled in her hair, pulling her closer as if he could fuse them together. Arya moaned into his mouth, her body arching against his. The kiss deepened, wild and messy, until Damien tore himself away with a guttural snarl. No, he roared, clutching his head as his body trembled violently. His eyes blazed gold, his fangs elongating. Damien, Arya cried, reaching for him. Stay back, he growled, his voice layered with the wolf's inhuman tone. I can't control it. He crashed to his knees, fighting the transformation with every ounce of strength. Arya's heart shattered as she watched him battle himself, his love for her warring with his primal instincts. Then it happened. A searing pain burned across Arya's skin, so sudden and intense she screamed. Damien froze, his head snapping up. On her collarbone, a strange, glowing symbol appeared, intricate and ancient, pulsing with otherworldly light. No, Damien breathed, horror flooding his face. This can't be happening. Arya clutched at the mark, gasping. Damien, what is this? He staggered to her, his trembling hands framing her face. It's the prophecy, he whispered, voice breaking. You're not just my mate, Arya. You're the key to the blood moon. Her mind reeled. The key? What does that even mean? It means, Damien said, his golden eyes filled with dread, that every alpha in the world will come for you. Some to worship you, and others to destroy you. Arya's tears fell freely. And you? Damien's voice was a vow, dark and dangerous. I will burn the world to ash before I let anyone take you from me. As Damien held her close, a low, haunting howl rose in the distance, answered by dozens more. The night outside the penthouse shimmered with moonlight, and in the reflection of the glass, Arya saw her glowing mark flare brighter. The war had begun, and she was at the center of it. She was his forbidden mate. He was done pretending he didn't want her. Arya woke to the sound of her own ragged breathing. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. The silk sheets beneath her were too soft, too luxurious. The room smelled faintly of cedarwood, smoke, and Damien. Her heart skipped violently as memories rushed back. The rescue, Damien's feral rage, and the glowing mark that had seared itself into her skin. She scrambled upright, clutching the sheet to her chest. Damien stood at the window, shirtless, his back a landscape of scars and hard muscle. Sunlight poured over him, turning his dark hair to molten gold, his powerful frame almost otherworldly. He turned when he felt her gaze, his golden eyes softening, then sharpening with possessive heat. "You're awake," he said, voice rough from sleeplessness. "You should be resting." Arya hugged the sheet tighter. "Resting? Damien, what happened to me last night?" This mark. She yanked the collar of his shirt, which she had thrown on, to reveal the glowing sigil etched into her skin. "It burns. What does it mean?" Damien crossed the room in 2 strides. His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing her trembling lips. "It means you're mine." Her breath caught. "Yours. My mate," he said fiercely. "The prophecy has chosen you, and I'm done pretending I can resist." Arya's heart slammed against her ribs. "Mate," she repeated, the word strange and heavy on her tongue. "You keep saying that, but I'm human. This shouldn't even be possible." Damien's jaw tightened. "It's forbidden," he admitted, his voice low and dangerous. "No alpha has ever been bound to a human before. The council would call it an abomination." Arya's stomach twisted. Then maybe they're right. "Damien, whatever this is between us, it's too much. It's dangerous." "Dangerous?" Damien growled, his hands gripping her shoulders. "I fought through fire and blood to keep you safe. I tore my own brother apart to bring you back to me. And you call that dangerous? You don't understand." Arya shouted, tears spilling down her cheeks. "If I give in to this, if I let you claim me, I'll lose myself. I won't even be me anymore." Her voice cracked on the last word, breaking something inside Damien. He lowered his head, his forehead pressing against hers, his breath hot and ragged. "You'll never lose yourself, Arya. You'll just become part of me." The raw vulnerability in his tone made her chest ache. But before she could respond, his lips crashed against hers. The kiss was brutal, consuming. It wasn't sweet or careful. It was hunger, need, and desperation tangled into one. Arya gasped into his mouth, her body arching as his hands roamed her back, pulling her flush against his bare chest. The sheet slipped away, forgotten, as Damien lifted her effortlessly into his arms. "Say you don't want this," he growled against her throat, his fangs grazing her skin. "Say it, and I'll stop." Arya's fingers dug into his shoulders. "I can't," she whispered, trembling. "I don't want you to stop." A dangerous sound rumbled deep in Damien's chest. "Then you're mine. Tonight, tomorrow, always." He carried her to the bed, laying her down like a treasure he'd killed to protect. His golden eyes burned with primal heat as he kissed down her collarbone, lingering over the glowing mark. Arya's breath hitched, her body igniting under his touch. Every brush of his lips sent lightning racing through her veins. She had never felt so alive, so wanted, so utterly consumed. "Damien," she gasped, her hands fisting in his hair. This is too much." "Not enough," he snarled, his control shattering. "You don't understand, Arya. I've been holding back for weeks, fighting my nature, fighting this." His lips crashed against hers again, savage and possessive. The kiss deepened, turning wild, until Damien pulled back just enough to meet her gaze. "I need to mark you," he said hoarsely. "Claim you fully, or I'll lose my mind." Arya's pulse thundered. "Mark me? Damien, what does that mean?" "It means no one, not Kieran, not the council, not even the gods themselves, can take you from me," he vowed. "It means you'll be bound to me forever." Fear and desire warred inside her. "Forever is a long time." "Forever is the only time I want," Damien said fiercely. "But I won't do it unless you say yes." Arya stared into his glowing eyes, her heart breaking under the weight of her own longing. "Yes," she whispered. "I'm yours." The sound Damien made was almost inhuman, relief, passion, and possessiveness all tangled together. He lowered his head to her throat, his fangs grazing the sensitive skin there. "Hold on to me," he growled. "This might hurt." Arya clung to him as he bit down, sharp pleasure pain exploding through her body. The mark on her collarbone flared with blinding light, and a surge of primal power rushed through her veins. Damien roared, his wolf fully unleashed for one terrifying, breathtaking moment. When the light faded, he was shaking, his forehead pressed to hers. "It's done," he whispered, voice trembling. "You're mine. Completely." Arya lay trembling in his arms, overwhelmed by what had just happened. Her body hummed with new energy, her senses sharper than ever before. Even Damien's heartbeat seemed louder, syncing with her own. She touched the bite at her throat, shivering. What did you do to me?" "Bound you to me," Damien said softly, his possessive gaze softening with tenderness. "You're part of my pack now. Part of me." Arya's chest tightened. "Damien, what if I lose my humanity? What if I become like you?" He cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. "You'll always be you, Arya. This bond doesn't erase who you are, it just ties us together." His voice dropped to a dark, dangerous whisper. "Anyone who tries to hurt you now will feel my wrath 1,000-fold." Arya's lips parted, a mix of fear and desire swirling inside her. "But what about your enemies? The council? Won't they?" "They won't touch you," Damien cut in, his voice sharp. "They'd have to go through me first." Over the next few days, the world outside their penthouse seemed to blur. Damien rarely let Arya out of his sight. Their relationship was a storm, volatile and consuming, full of jealousy and passion. Sometimes they fought. Sometimes they kissed until neither of them could breathe. Every moment crackled with intensity, like a wire stretched too tight. But the threat beyond their walls grew darker with each passing night. Damien's scouts brought word of rival packs gathering near the city, whispering about the human who bore the prophecy mark. And Kieran was nowhere to be found, which terrified Damien more than his open attacks ever had. One night, Damien stood on the balcony, his hands gripping the railing hard enough to bend metal. Arya approached cautiously, wrapping her arms around his tense waist. "You're scaring me," she admitted softly. "What's going on?" "War," Damien said simply, his voice like ice. "They all want you, and they'll burn this city to the ground to get you." The following evening, Damien's penthouse was plunged into unnatural silence. Even the night wind seemed to hold its breath. Then a deep, resonant knock echoed through the building. Damien's entire body went rigid. "They're here," he snarled. "Who?" Arya asked, dread coiling in her gut. Before he could answer, the doors burst open. A group of figures swept in, their presence suffocatingly powerful. At their head was a tall, regal woman with silver hair and eyes like cold fire. "Damien Blackthorne," she intoned, her voice sharp enough to cut steel. "You have to fight our laws for the last time." Damien positioned himself in front of Arya, his wolf snarling beneath his skin. "You won't touch her." The woman's gaze slid to Arya, lingering on the glowing mark at her collarbone. "So it's true," she murmured. "The human has been claimed." Arya trembled, clutching Damien's arm. "Who are they?" "The High Council," Damien said grimly. "The rulers of our kind." The woman raised her hand, and power rippled through the room. Her next words struck like a death sentence. "The prophecy cannot be fulfilled. The girl must die before the blood moon rises." Arya's breath left her in a scream, but Damien's roar drowned it out. Golden light exploded from his body as his wolf surged forward, his fangs bared in a feral snarl. "No one," he thundered, "will touch what's mine." The council's warriors drew their weapons, the room teetering on the edge of chaos. And above them all, the first crimson light of the approaching blood moon spilled through the windows. To save her, he'll defy the very laws of his kind. Chaos erupted the moment the council pronounced Arya's death sentence. Damien didn't think, he moved. A blur of raw power. He scooped Arya into his arms and launched through the penthouse window, glass shattering like a rain of diamonds around them. Arya screamed as icy night air slammed into her, her arms clinging desperately to his neck. Damien, hold on to me, he roared, his wolf erupting beneath his skin. His eyes glowed gold, his body shifting just enough to harness unnatural speed and strength. Below them, the city lights streaked past as Damien raced along rooftops, dodging arrows of silver fire shot by the council's warriors. You've just declared war, Damien Blackthorn, one warrior shouted, their voice a chilling echo in the night. Then let it be war, Damien snarled, his voice carrying across the rooftops like thunder. Arya buried her face in his neck, her pulse pounding wildly. She didn't fully understand what had just happened, only that Damien had defied everyone, everything for her. And now, the entire supernatural world wanted them dead. Hours later, after an endless flight through moonlit forests and across jagged mountain ranges, Damien slowed. Arya lifted her head, gasping as she saw a sprawling valley below, a city carved from black stone and ancient magic, glowing with faint golden light. Where are we? She whispered. My kingdom, Damien said, his voice tight with barely contained rage. The last sanctuary of my kind. The place no council dares to touch until now. As they descended, wolves of every shape and size emerged from the shadows, bowing low. Some looked at Arya with awe, others with open hatred. Damien ignored them all, his stride fierce as he carried her straight to a towering obsidian palace at the city's heart. The palace doors slammed shut behind them with a finality that made Arya shiver. Inside Damien's private chambers, the tension between them was suffocating. Arya paced near the massive stone fireplace, her arms wrapped around herself. They're going to come after us, she said shakily. You heard them, Damien. They called you unfit to rule just for being with me. What happens now? Damien stood at the window, his broad shoulders taut with strain. What happens now, he said darkly, is that I fight. I've spent my entire life bowing to their ancient, suffocating laws. No more. He turned, golden eyes blazing. They want to take you from me? They'll have to kill me first. Arya's heart ached at the raw fury in his voice. But fear gnawed at her, too. Damien, I don't want to be the reason your world falls apart. You're not the reason, he growled, stalking toward her. They are. They fear the prophecy. They fear you. Arya froze. Me? Damien cupped her face, his thumb brushing her trembling lips. You've started changing, haven't you? Strength. Senses. Strange dreams. Her breath hitched. How did you?